Hello everyone, welcome back to Chill Hill Trades, where I can make it my job to analyze the market so that you know what's going on. Today we're going to be talking about CCIV, which is in a month officially going to become Lucid Motors. If you're watching this, you're probably a big fan. And so let's get into the juicy stuff. I'm going to kind of cover how the chart is looking holistically, long term, and then we're also going to jump into more short term intermediate price targets. So if you like anything in the video, please hit the sub button and like and comment. I want to know what you think about Lucid Motors. Where do you think it's headed? We're almost at 100 subscribers, guys. So I appreciate the support, and let's keep it coming. Let's build this squad bigger and bigger. Okay, so pretty important day for Lucid today. We had I would say our biggest green candle in a while, which was about 10% increase. It's kind of on a couple things. One, they had some positive PR about their cars, as well as how many pre-orders they've had. I think it was I want to say 10K. I can't remember off the top of my head. I just looked at the article. Let me know what the pre-orders are in the comments. So there's some good hype around it. On July 28th is when it's going to officially reverse merge, which is a big deal. And so there's also a little hype going into that reverse merge timeline. Today's also really significant because not only did we move out on big volume, relatively big volume in a big day, but we also got past this resistance range. So when we dive in, keep drawing everywhere. When we dive in, we see that we tried to break out here a couple weeks ago. We came down, tested the trend line, so all bullish indicators, and then we've come back up. We kind of created a cup and handle. So cup and handle, if you don't know what that is, it's kind of when you come down, you hit a little pullback, which is that red candle, and then we broke out. And so that's a very bullish. Everything here is saying very bullish in the short term. When we zoom out, some other more bullish long-term indicators is, one is RSI. So we've been trading above 50 RSI lately, which is a reversal from trading below 50 RSI for quite a while on that pullback. So this is bullish right here. As long as we can stay up above this range in the long term, that means the stock should continue to go high. When we look at the SMAs and the EMAs, so the EMAs are in the correct order where you have the 100-day and the 50-day. That's a very bullish indicator long term. But when we look at simple moving averages, which weight more of the long-term price action, we do see the 50-day or the 100-day still above the 50-day, which we need those to cross back over to see more of a long-term bullish trend when it comes to the moving averages. A couple of the price targets we want to keep an eye on. So after we're breaking out, we first need to have a confirmation day. So there's one or two things. One is we kind of go sideways, and that can be a confirmation. The other confirmation, which might not have to happen because we had so much testing here, is a pullback test of the breakout and then move higher, something like that. I would say those are the two scenarios that I would like most. RSI is kind of already getting to that overbought period, which is not a great sign in my opinion. So kind of a cooling down a little bit, or maybe even one more green day up, maybe hitting that resistance point and coming back down and cooling out a little bit would be more of a bullish long-term trend I would like to see. Something that we need to keep an eye on, and if this bullish breakout was bologna or not, a bologna sandwich, is we are seeing a little bit of a divergence on the daily. So what divergence is we see a downtrend in the RSI, but we see an uptrend in the stock. This might just be might not be that important because it's such a short time frame we're looking at, but that's something you want to keep an eye on. Is if we don't see a continuation of this breakout, we could be reversing on divergence, but in order for that to happen, we would have to break below this trend line as well. So going into the rest of the week and next week, a couple price points we want to look at. So the first price target I have is around $30. And so the reason I have that price target is if we go back in the past, we see a bunch of candles kind of hitting a top in the past around this $30 price range. It's these bottom circles here. We have like 6 or 7 candles that had struggle around that price point. So in the past, whatever a price struggled at is going to be an important resistance in the future. So it's not that far away. So that's going to be the first price target we want to look at. If we happen to test that, maybe come back and break out further, the next price point is not that far away. So the reason these price points are pretty close together is because we have a lot of accumulation in the past. So we have, 7 or 8 days here of kind of around the same price range. We have 5 candles around the same price range here. And then we have 2 failed breakouts. We had one at 32.50 and the other failed breakout around that 30 price range. So we have a lot of accumulation and failed breakouts in the past. So this whole range is probably going to bring a lot of volatility. With all the PR and the hype around this stock finally reverse merging into Lucid Motors, we're probably going to see a little bit of a potential escalated volatility, both in the day-to-day price action, so just seeing big swings in price potentially, as well as seeing a lot of back and forth within this kind of 34 to 27 price range potentially, based on it having so much resistance in the past. Like I said, if we happen to break it above that 30, the next price range I have is 32. And again, we just see a lot of candles having a struggle of breaking out. So in the past, on the way down, it had a hard time breaking out. And then even before the top that we saw back at like $60, we do see a lot of resistance there as well before finally gapping up and breaking out. So 30, around 32 range. When I say range, you just have to give or take 50 cents. So the price I give you is pretty close, but sometimes you'll see a fake out to the upside, or you won't see the candle quite hit the price target. And so that's why it's kind of a 50 cents range, both above and below the price target. If we continue to see a long-term trend starting or continue to the upside, the next price target I have is around 35.50. And so again, we see a bunch of trying to break out multiple times, 4 or 5 candles. We have this big long wick here that the day ended at that 35 price range, and then the next day it basically it started heading down after that. So again, 30, 32, 35. And if we do continue to see upward momentum, as I was saying, there's probably going to be a lot of volatility back and forth in this price range. So keep an eye on that. If we can break out of that consolidation zone, my personal intermediate top, if we continue to see a lot of volume into that July 28th range, is going to be around $38. When I break down on the hourly, it's going to get messy real quick, guys. 1 second. When I break it down on the hourly, hopefully you didn't get pass out when I did that. But we see a lot of accumulation again in that little 38 price range. So that's another point I'm going to be looking at. It's kind of my intermediate top. I'm curious, what do you guys think? What is your intermediate top? What is your long-term top? What just happened to this chart? There we go. What's your intermediate top? What's your long-term top? I'm curious what your price targets are. If we, for some reason, see a change of from a bullish to more of a bearish trend, which doesn't look like that in the intermediate term, but if sometime down in the next couple months we see that, we want to have some understanding of price targets. So the most short-term one is definitely just this breakout point we saw. Like I said, we need to confirm above that and confirm that we're seeing more to the upside. That's a very significant break. Seeing 2-3 days of really, or 4 days of really big resistance, that's going to be a really important support. And so if we break below that, it becomes really significant resistance again. The next thing I want to see is definitely a hold of this trend line. So we have 2 trend lines. If we zoom out, we have one from way back here, and then we have this more recent. So that's going to be really important because we have now 3 or 4 candles that have bounced off that. And so the more candles that hit that trend line, the stronger that trend line gets. So if we break below that trend line, then that could have some very negative momentum to the downside. So again, this price target around 27.30, we're going to want to look for a hold of this trend line. And the next area of support is around 24.50. And again, a lot of candles, guys. When you're looking at points on the chart that you're trying to find a lot of support and resistance, you have to look at the candles. Again, when we go in the past, zoom up here, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I think we even have some back here. We even have 3 candles back there. So again, a lot of support now at that 24.50 range. So if we break this, this is an area where you have to start determining where your buy-in price was. If your buy-in price was back here and you still have long-term faith in the stock, maybe these are dip buy zones. But if you started buying up around this 28 price target, you have to start considering how much downside you're willing to keep in this position, as potentially putting stop losses around these price targets. After that, we really want to start looking at these EMAs. So the first EMA we're looking at is the 50-day, which is around 33.50. And then right below that, we have the 100-day also at a support line at about $22. So that 23 to 22 range, again, we could, if the price does break down, there's probably going to be some volatility and some testing of those SMAs in the future. If this doesn't break down for another month, we're probably going to see these increase a little bit more. So just keep an eye on both the 50-day and the 100-day EMA, because those are going to be really important levels of support for the stock. If we break below 22, this is pretty significant. And the reason I say it's significant is because we break the higher highs and higher lows. So kind of here at the bottom, we have this breakout, we have one low, and then we're having a higher high. And so if we were to break out below this 22 line, then we no longer have higher lows, and we're potentially starting a lower high and lower low trend. So this is going to be the line in the sand for me personally if I were to own shares. If it breaks below at 22, we are potentially seeing a change of reversal for this stock. From there, again, if you have super long-term conviction in this stock and maybe you don't own shares yet, around this 20 price range is going to be probably a potential buy-in with a really close stop loss. And because if we go in the future, if we kind of imagine where the stock would move or potential price action, say it went something like this, say it is going to the downside, which is, not really what you want to see. Again, that 22 is so important. And if we get to here, this is really big support, as if it breaks below this, we're either going to double test the bottom or head lower. So these are all the price points you want to keep an eye on, and you have to start considering your risk. If you bought higher, 22 is probably going to be your floor of when you want to hold on in the short term. But if you're a super long-term holder, these are potential buy dip zones to continue to acquire more shares of the company. Thanks for making it this long in the video. If you have, it's 12 minutes. I know I went a little more intense on the price targets, but I wanted to give you all the information you needed. So I appreciate you making this far. And again, tell me what you think of Lucid Motors. I don't know about them personally. I think there's better EV names out there to buy, both in China and US. But tell me what your thoughts and your opinions and feelings on Lucid Motors, both in the short term and the long term. But that's all I have for you for this video. Please like, please sub, join the squad. The last call I want to make is I have a Twitch stream I do with my buddy every Saturday and Sunday night. So Saturday at 7 p.m. on the West Coast, we play video games and talk about the stock market, our thoughts, big things that happen that week. And then Sunday, we have Sunday Free For All, where you can jump into the stream, ask me any of your stock questions, and I'll do a live charting as I do on these stocks. And so thank you again for checking in this video. If this is your first time, appreciate it. If you're here for the many times, you're the best. Talk to you again tomorrow.